Now, without further ado, let's welcome our actor, director, producer, and superstar, Pooja Bedi, a hugely successful professional in the world of TV, film, media, and entertainment. Pooja, in conversation with the charming Shivani Wazir Pasreech, the CEO of SWP Productions. Shivani is a performer, producer, artist, and writer, and she has been advocating women empowerment through powerhouse scripts, plays produced and performed by her production house. Ladies, Shivani in conversation with Pooja, not just page 3.
I think one thing, producer, director, actor, whatever anyone wants to describe, one thing no one will disagree with, and that is that she is irresistible.
Oh,
Now,
thank
the
you.
question is it because she's got this amazing figure, this wonderful face, this Bollywood history? Well, frankly, for me, it's because she's one of the warmest people I have ever met.
Oh, thank you. Sweet.
So I'm just going to say once again to rattle off all that she's done. I don't know how many of you saw Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar? So this is not Pooja, this is actually Sikandar. Because in the battle of life, she's actually managed to take on her talwar and descend on every crowd and say, no, 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 whatever you're saying, doing, feeling, I don't care, I'm going to do what I've set out to do. So Pooja is an actor, she's an activist, she's a talk show host, she's a columnist, she's a humanitarian, she's a reality show host, she's a single parent. I think I've missed out 2 because there's got to be 10. So of all the multiple things you do, Pooja, what is it that you think is the reason that this chakra of new things and new experiences never stops?
I think it's just this incredible journey that we're all on, which is called life. When people meet me for the first time and they kind of get to know me a little bit, they all think I'm on drugs because because I wake up in the morning and I'm full high power and they call me at 6 a.m. and I'm like, good morning, everybody. And we're chatting and they're like, oh, please, Pooja, at 6 a.m., go slow, go easy. And then I'm up till 2 in the morning and 3 in the morning and 4 in the morning and back on my feet at 6. And they're like, this is not normal. Cocaine. And then I'm a really affectionate, physically affectionate person, and I tend to hug people and kiss people, and like, oh God, ecstasy for sure. She's on that ecstasy pill, hugging, loving, and world is so beautiful. And then, of course, I've dabbled in a lot of meta sciences, and I talk a lot about, I've done past life regression, I teach past life regression, and we, conduct all these things about alternative realities and parallel dimensions, and they go, some hallucinogenic LSD or something. I've had this incredible journey of life. We've all had incredible journeys. We've seen on screen and on stage amazing depictions of incredibly, incredibly strong women. And for a lot of us out here sitting there, there's a disconnect because none of us have really experienced the kind of stuff that they have. And it's so far removed from our reality that we tend to say, oh, that's their life, thank God my life is like this. But the truth is, it's a story of everybody's life and something that can happen to anybody and everybody close to you or to you.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to your life.
And my life, all right. So we'll come back to my life, and
your
I'll wrap
life
it up. I'll wrap it up in a very short, how can I wrap it up short? Okay, I'll try. Born to 2 very bohemian parents. I was a class topper at the Lawrence School, Sanaa, signing the Book of Honor every single year, and part of the debating team, the hockey team, the basketball team, the swimming team, etc. Very convinced I was going to go onto Wall Street and be part of the movers and shakers of the financial world. And in a twist and a quirk of fate, I land up in Bollywood, where I never thought I'd ever land up in. At the age of 18, I start earning my own way in life from the age of 18, standing on my own 2 feet.
Okay, at the age of 18, here's the question that I'm going to ask, because since we'll make it interactive, we'll keep on butting in and asking you specifics. So, your mum had a wonderful journey where she started out completely bohemian, ended up spiritual and dancing and setting up a center which till today is unparalleled. But at the same time, she was very bold, and there was this whole thing about her actually stepping out and not following the norms of what to wear and what not to wear. Having said that, when you took on your career, you too were absolutely bohemian, and you said whether it's a condom ad or it's relationships, I'm not going to do it in the predictable way where people say everything should be behind the curtains. So you just went all out.
Well, yes.
So was that the way that you would do it again if you had to do it again?
You know, honestly, Shivani, I have never lived by a ruler that belongs to somebody else, measured my life on a ruler that belongs to somebody else, because everybody's journey is so unique. Everybody's thought processes are so unique. You can't please everybody. I was in a no man's land growing up because I grew up in this very bohemian setting with my mom, who was ultra liberated and bohemian and the whole flower power. And I think they tried every drug possible in the world, you know. It was that generation and that era that they all belonged to. And I grew up as a reaction to that. So I haven't touched a single drug in my life. I've never even smoked a cigarette apart from that one puff of my mother's cigarette when I was 6 years old, which is probably the reason I never ever smoked it ever again. You know, so, and then people get to know me, they're like, she doesn't do drugs, she doesn't smoke cigarettes. And my mom used to look at me and say, you're such a backward child. You know? And then for society, I was ultra bohemian and ultra modern. So I was in this no man's land where I was backward for my parents and too bold for the rest of society. So I just decided to carve my own path and do my own thing. And back then, you know, when mothers used to keep their daughters away from me because I was ultra-liberated and their daughters might get corrupted space, today I have all these women and mothers walking up to me saying, because I represent this modern, emancipated, bold, strong woman of today, I wish my daughter could be just like you.
So coming to daughters, that's what I want to ask you. Alia's about to enter Bollywood.
Yes.
So this is a stage probably where many of us are more conservative than we would imagine ourselves to be. Because while on the one hand we're world citizens, on the other hand we see the blue whales of the world swimming into our lives, or at least the realms of imagining that they can, and our children exposed in such direct ways. So at a time when you grew up, all this absolute wild stuff, and now at a time when our children are growing up and the wild stuff is there for everyone, how are you as a parent in terms of making sure that your kids are on track and achieving as you did?
You know, this on track and achievement is a very subjective thing. As a parent, my responsibility is to raise good human beings, right? I have to educate my children, give them the best education so that they can empower themselves to take their lives forward. If they're chosen to go and be hippies their whole life, I teach them to be the best bloody hippies. You know, if they want to go and be engineers, well, go and be the best bloody engineer. What they want, I will empower them and give their wings the wind below so they can fly and fulfill their dreams, right? So
Pooja, this is very good on the heart chakra column, because there people come with their problems and they say, help us, and agony aunt says, look, I've seen the world and I'm giving you the mantra. We need specifics, examples of when something happened at home and how you guided through. Because as parents, we're facing these kind of situations every day. What is the deadline? Do you stick to that deadline? There is no deadline. There are no norms.
No, I mean, I think you have to lead by example. And that's the most important thing, because you can whip your child and beat your child, as I see some parents doing, and, you know, study, 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 study. Or you can just tell your child, listen, mom has her life, and I have to take care of everything as a single parent that I need to do because I'm a single mother. I handle the home, I handle the finances, I'm the breadwinner of the family. I have to do all of this. Now, if on top of that, I have to come and sit down in your room and help you do your work, that's very unfair to me. because I have so much going on. And when you teach children to have a sense of responsibility, when you're not mollycoddling them and overprotecting them, and you teach them to actually take charge of their own lives. My kids have been class toppers, and they've done it all by themselves. I've never had to tell them, study, do your homework. I've never had to sit on their heads. They've understood that it is their role and their responsibility, and what they do is going to take them the distance. You empower your kids. Parents tend to disempower their kids by doing way too much for them. Of course, you must be there, you can guide them, but you can't tell them and coerce them and force them into doing things that may not be very natural or organic to them. You have to teach them how to do things.
Pooja, you have had two brothers and the one sister. So this is something maybe people say is Delhi-centric.
No sister.
One sister, you are the sister to the two brothers.
Okay.
It's the three of them. It was the three of them. In Delhi, we still have the archaic thought process. Delhi is the capital of the country, and maybe we mirror what the emotions of the country are. So without, actually saying what we feel, if we look at the facts, when it comes to inheritance, when it comes to the carrying the family name and fame forward, it is the boy who is inclined towards, people are inclined towards. In your case, how did things go? What was your mother's wishes as she moved on to places that she had well prepared for? She was already climbing many mountain tops, and she shaved her head and donned the robes and went from mountain to mountain. How did she leave things behind for the three of you?
Okay, well, this is a bit complicated because my brother passed away before my mother did. So he died, he was schizophrenic, and he committed suicide. And it was very hard for my mother, and I think part of her spiritual journey stemmed from there, which led her to her own realizations and her own incredible journey, which ended in the most dramatic manner with the landslide in Kailash Mansarovar. As far as my brother Adam, he's come from my dad's second marriage, and he's now on his fourth marriage. So I think, and as far as my dad's inheritance, everybody kind of knows that me and my dad have a bit of friction going on, so I'm not inheriting anything from there clearly. That will go to my brother Adam, which is perfectly fine because I'm earning really well for myself, and my mother, therefore, everything that was hers was mine. However, when we talk about the whole issue of inheritance, I don't see why it has to be a gender-based thing. You have given birth to children, whether you have 3 boys or whether you're 1 boy and 1 girl. It is your job as a parent to educate your child to stand on their own 2 feet. They should be able to take care of themselves. Whatever you leave behind should be based on need. If one child is more needy than the other, as a parent, you must enable that child for their lives to be taken care of. If one child is doing exceptionally well professionally, it doesn't matter what the gender is. The child that is not doing well professionally for whatever reason, that child needs the help. And that's the way it should be seen. And that's, the moment we get into this, creating gender inequality by saying, should it go to the boy, should it go to the girl? That's where the issues start in the first place. It has to go either to both children, if you want to be fair, or to the child that is the most needy.
Okay, now, the show that you did, it was not just Page 3 and went on to just Pooja. So I want to ask you, how much of a role did you have in choosing the title?
Well, I didn't. My journey's been quite tumultuous. Everything's kind of led one into the other. So if I can rewind back a little bit and talk about how, from having my movie career at the age of 18, meeting my ex-husband when I was 20, getting married at the age of 24, my ex-husband telling me, I don't want you to work in films anymore because there's so much, gossip and all of that, and me being me and crazily in love at the age in my early 20s, I chuck it all up for holy matrimony. And I become the best possible wife because now if I'm going to do something, I want to do it 100%. So I do all these cooking courses, and I learn Chinese and Mexican and continental and Italian. And then all the food's looking great and the color palette's great. I do vegetable carving so I can put these swans and flowers on the table made of vegetables to add to the look of the table. And I do napkin folding courses so even the napkins are looking really pretty. And then to top it all, I joined the British Calligraphy Institute so that I can do the name tags very beautifully when you do table setting. And then your marriage breaks up, and you're at a point in your life, and there were 3.5 years in my life which were very, very tumultuous. And the reason I'm sharing all this with you is because hopefully all of you sitting here will somehow see that all our lives are intrinsically connected, and we all go through these journeys because in 3.5 years, I lost everything and everyone that was close to me. The man who raised me, my Yunk, from the time I was 6 months old, he died. My brother Siddharth committed suicide. My nanny died. My dog died. I was 6 months pregnant when my mother died. Sorry, 6 months pregnant when my brother died. I deliver my child. Within a few months of that, my mother's dead. Then I'm delivering my next child. And before I know it, my marriage is over. And my marriage is over to a man whom I helped create his entire empire from scratch, but I didn't put my name on it because he's my husband, it's ours. And you don't think of putting your name onto that piece of paper to say the company is equally mine. I'm building it brick by brick with you, going production, delivery, marketing, client handling, PR. And then the man tells you, I don't want you to leave, so therefore I won't give you a rupee in alimony, because if I do give you alimony, you will leave. And you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you're in a terrible marriage and you want to leave your marriage. And you are so shit scared because you're all of 32 years old and you've lost every support system around you, and it's been a mammoth 3.5 years of loss, and more loss. And you're so scared as to whether you should take this plunge or take this step, and you have 2 children. And the traditional way to do it is say, no, I have to stay for the sake of my kids. But it's a very comfortable environment and I'm fine. It's like an ivory castle and I have all the luxuries in the world, and this is where I'm happiest, which is something a lot of us tend to do. But to me, my life and the happiness quotient of my life was the most important thing. And I just literally, I read a book called Who Moved My Cheese? And that one book just nailed it for me. I just said, there is no cheese, I'm hungry, and just like Sniff and Scurry in the book, let's just get on with it, put on my running shoes. I could do it at 18, I could start my life, earn my living from the age of 18, I can do it bloody again. Though I was just 12th class educated, I was in an industry which is glamorous. I'm now 32 with 2 kids. There's a lot of bias about, "Arey shaadi ho gayi hai, bacche ho gayi hai, divorce ho gayi hai." And you're older, and there are younger girls who enter the industry, and all those fears were put in my head. What will you do, etc., etc. And
So
you
Pooja,
let
when
life
you
lead
started out,
you. You let life lead you, because at the end of the day, it's your journey, and everyone's journey is unique. And if you choose to stay, be happy you stay. And if you choose to leave, be happy you leave. You can't leave and then still be unhappy, because you might as well have stayed there and been unhappy.
When we started this talk, you said when you see these stories, you hear these ladies' talks, you listen to the music, you think, oh, this is so sad, but you know what? It doesn't happen to me. And now listening to your story, 3 times I've shivered because it's just so unbelievable what you've been through. And at the end of the day,
everyone's journey. And as a lady said here,
exactly.
nobody is exempt. Nobody is exempt from pain, from grief, from suffering. We have this incredible journey called life, for God's sake. There's not one person, not the richest person on the planet, and not the poorest man or the simplest man, who hasn't had the same stuff happen to him. We all suffer loss. We all suffer the death of a loved one. We'll all be betrayed. We'll all be hurt. We'll all have financial pressures. It's normal. And we tend to fear this so much. And if you just accept it as it's normal, and how we deal with it is what empowers us and changes our lives. It's all about perspective. And the less you fear it, you're not under the wave, you're riding the wave, right?
well, speaking about the
So
wave, I'm going to say that the lady who came before us from Jharkhand, she looked like a warrior. She looked like she was going to say, this is where I'm standing and how dare you move me. You don't look like a warrior. You look like you're saying, come here, let's chat.
You know,
so how much of a war has it been? Today, when you're doing your workshops, how easy is it? Are people just flowing in because they look at you and say, wow, there's someone who can really value add to us? On the other hand, when you're doing your events and things, are you saying, look, I need to get life going, so you have to respect that? Does that work? Or do you just have to say, oh, well, how nice?
Okay, well, through my columns, I tend to empower people with perspectives. And I think that comes from a place of having been there. So if you say, been married, been there, done that. Been a divorcee, been there, done that. Dated younger men and been the cougar, been there, done that. Dated a married man, been there, done that. Terrible decision, never ever date a married man. And, a single parent, been there, done that. At every point, being a working individual, being a housewife, been there, done that. So I think it stems from a place where I understand. It's not just hypothetical, it's real, and I feel what people go through having been there in exactly those spaces. Being a parent, being a single parent, being a parent to a teenager, oh my God, that's a whole different life cycle altogether. So it stems from there. My Happy Soul workshops that I conduct are basically all about empowering people, because at the end of the day, as Robin very sweetly said and rightly said, how much of happiness are we actually spreading? And what is this journey about if it isn't happy? So if you're not waking up happy and you're not sleeping happy, despite having more than anyone has ever had before in any prior generation, you have the best cars. We didn't have like Fiat back then were like a, oh my God, wow experience. Today you have the best of cars, you have the best of food, you have the best restaurants, you have the best designer clothes, you can travel, you can go into national places which was only dreamt about 30 years ago. We have the best of everything, and yet today you look around and you see people who are just so sad and stressed and unhappy. And I can't understand it, because if everything that you have, from the clothes that you have selected to make you happy, the spouse you selected to make yourself happy, the children you decided to have that were going to make you happy, everything is your choice. So why the hell are you unhappy? So there's something going wrong, and my workshop aims to help people deprogram and reprogram, because I just actually would love to wake up and see a really happy society.
I
Happy
think that
people, all
does-
these problems that occur. I mean, these horrific things, I mean, you hear these stories and you can see how bottled up and suppressed and angry and violent people are, because negativity breeds negativity. So let's have positivity breeds positivity. If you're not waking up happy, you are breeding negativity. So each one of us needs to learn how to wake up happy and how to therefore spread happiness, because only when your well is full can you make others drink from it.
That's absolutely true. Well, your well was kind of skewed because you
I
had
was
this.
always happy. I was happy. I was happy to be married. I was happy to be divorced. I was the happiest divorcee ever. You know, people ask me, Pooja, you write a relationship column, but your marriage is a failure. You've had so many relationships. All of them have been a failure. How are you guiding people on relationships? So I say, listen, staying
When
put.
they- when they say
Staying put in a bad marriage is not success. Exiting a bad marriage successfully, to the extent that you can be best friends with your ex-husband like I am, dance at his wedding with another woman like I did, being best friends with all your exes, which I am, so you leave a relationship successfully, that is success.
Okay. So today, whenever you have a session with someone, I'm sure even if Pooja was to have a one-on-one, she'd say, what about your childhood? So I'm going to go on and say, you were the daughter of this international superstar. I just did an Italian event where we had Sandokan himself. And even today, the Italians go, Sandokan. And so what was it in your childhood? What was it in your genes that gave you this happiness quotient? Because you can't just program people and say, zap, be happy.
Actually, you can. And I teach people that in my workshop, how you can actually deprogram, because happiness is a state of mind. It's not available externally. You can't go out there and find it on a shop. Yes, there are certain moments that can occur in your life that will bring you temporary happiness, that will add to your happy quotient and make you happier. But happiness is within. You can actually wake up happy every single day and sleep happy, and it's okay. It's like, I was speaking at TEDx last week, and I said, it's like you're on this roller coaster, right? And you get onto the roller coaster and you strap yourself in and you kind of go along these twists and turns, and it's like really lovely and yippee, and you're going down, and then suddenly you're on top of this thing and you're looking down and you scream and you kind of zoom down, and you know, you're getting all hysterical, but you're enjoying the ride, correct? So the same way with life, even you know that your bad times have to come. It's not normal for that to just be good times. So when your bad times come, it's like the roller coaster, and you're perched atop it. You look down and say, here comes that ride, and you actually feel the exhilaration of even going through that. And there's a way to do it. And there are ways to channel your energy to see everything in perspective. You change your perspective, you change your life.
I'm actually just thinking of all the roller coaster rides I've had, and I have to confess that there has been a change, because when I was younger, I had this, wee, here it comes. And then I don't know what happened to me, and somewhere along the line I would go, wee, here it comes. And by now, I've reached a stage where I want to say to the kids and my husband, can you guys just do the roller coaster without me? So I don't know how much of that programming is something that we can control when the experiences of life come along. And for you, Pooja, being on page 3 has been very beneficial for your work, because everybody knows you and your work is about people knowing you. But at the same time,
How
when
many
they say,
people want to be on page 3 but can't be on page 3? It's an effort even being on page 3.
but having said that, what I'm saying is, what have been the disadvantages of being famous, of being born to famous parents, of having achieved great success very, very quickly and having to give it up even quicker and then getting back to it?
You know, I don't see it as advantages and disadvantages because my life has been an open book. I think it's disadvantages to those who want to hide things. It's disadvantages to those who want their privacy for reasons best known to them, either because they're private people or because they don't want what's going on to be known to other people, unearthed, so to speak. I've always led my life very openly because I truly believe that what I've done is done because I want to do it and it's the right thing to do. As long as something is lawful and legal, I have every single right to do it. It's my journey, it's my life, and I choose to have it my way. Whether I chose to be in Bollywood, it was my decision, no matter what the circumstances that led to it, but it was my decision. It was my decision to quit. It was my decision to restart. And yes, no matter how turbulent it might have been at that time when I leave without a penny, and my ex-husband not even giving me 1 month's electricity bill. You know, and it's really frightening, especially when you have 2 kids. And it's really, because you're so used to having income and earning before marriage, you're used to having income during your marriage, and suddenly there's no income. And you sit back and say, well, this is the journey I've undertaken. And one thing leads to another. I started going out to parties, being seen on page 3. Midday comes up to me and says, Pooja, we'd like you to do a column. You're always out and about. Diary of the Single Woman. I start writing it. Times of India calls me up and says, we're launching a channel. We love the way you think. We've been reading your columns. Will you do a talk show with us? Talk show then leads to reality shows. And suddenly I'm discovering this daredevil in me that's jumping off helicopters and, you know, lying in a pit with hundreds of snakes and hundreds of rats and, you know, being buried underground and flipping cars at high speed. And it's also
Okay, so
exciting.
she's
It's so
still okay
exciting.
with that
There's
roller
just
coaster
advantages.
ride
There are
because
advantages
that
when you
roller
accept-
coaster
there
is
are
mild
advan-
compared to this.
There are advantages when you take responsibility for everything in your life. There are only disadvantages if you feel victim and you feel you're helpless. That's when you're at a disadvantage. Otherwise, it's all advantageous because you have consciously made those decisions. Is that time up?
I think so. Well, having consciously decided to look at the time, I think Pooja's decided, I have told you all that I had to.
No, I haven't. I can go on. And my workshops are 8 hours long. And then they ask you at TEDx, can you concise that into 18 minutes? And I'm like, okay, 10 years of study in quantum physics and neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis and all these energy modalities and et cetera, et cetera. And I do the 8-hour work, compact 10 years into 8-hour workshops, and then say 18 minutes for TEDx. So,
Having said that, I think we're both going to stand and thank you all. So maybe clap for you, please, for being a wonderful
Thank you
audience.
so much, Pooja and Shivani. It
Thank
was
you.
a very enjoyable tête-à-tête.
thank you.
Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you, John.
Thank
So
you.
sweet. Thank you.
Thank
you
you all.
so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Have a great day and a great lunch and a great life. And just empower yourselves. Everything lies with you. It's all your choice. Sure.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being such a wonderful audience.